I wish everybody a very good and happy and healthy and safe Shana Tova, good year. I welcome you to our services and to the New Jewish Year 5782. This video recording serves as a prelude to our whole High Holiday Services format. Right after this, we're going to show you a video from last year's Rosh HaShanah Eve service. So I hope that you'll enjoy that as well, that we do as a service to the general public. Then tomorrow, Rosh Hashanah morning, first day, and Rosh Hashanah morning, the second day. Our presentation will be on Zoom for people who have registered in advance. We're going to be doing that live in our sanctuary. And then same thing, Yom Kippur, Kol Nidre evening coming up. We're going to do that live also on Zoom for our registered participants, and Yom Kippur morning, starting at 10 a.m. And following that, we will have in the afternoon available to the general Jewish public my comments on the afternoon Mincha Torah reading and Haftarah, and then our Ne'ilah service, which we are also making public for you. I'd like to also add that we will have two special guest presentations on Rosh Hashanah second day. I'm going to have Richard Hirschhout, who is the director of the American Jewish Committee, talk about what it is that worries us as Jews. And then on Yom Kippur Day, after our services, I'm going to have a video presentation with Rebecca Silfan, who is active in reach out to the general non-Jewish community about Judaism. She recently wrote about it in the Jewish Journal. So those are two special presentations. Now I'd like to get to my main theme for this. If you think about it, those of you who have been following me this last year, our Shabbat study session was primarily dedicated to review great Jewish thinkers from the year zero till today. So I included loyal Jews, dedicated Jews like Maimonides and Mendelssohn, who were looking for ways to keep Jews into the fold of Judaism, as well as renegades like Paul and Marx. What I emphasize throughout is that as minuscule as we may be, we have shifted the course of events worldwide, both directly and indirectly. One of the thinkers I discussed was the poet-philosopher Yehuda Halevi, composed his philosophy in the form of a novel entitled The Kuzari, the Khazar. It was built around the search of a pagan king in a mysterious kingdom in the south of Russia and Ukraine on the border of the Black Sea. And the story goes that he was looking for a religion that would meet his spiritual needs. So he invited a rationalist philosopher, a Christian priest, and a Muslim Qadi. He found their answers to be very thin gruel and realized that the debaters were all making reference to this insignificant people, the Jews, at least certainly the Christian and the Qadi in Muslim world. So he said, well, Jews, not many, not very important, but anyway, I'll invite this Jewish wise man. And so he begins to tell him the story of the family history of Abraham and Isaac and the children and the children's quarrels. And the king, as he listens to this, says, what kind of religion is this? Why don't you speak about first things, the origins, the beginnings of the universe, of good and evil, of the power of God? Why this prattle about a family from long ago? The wise man responds to the effect that what we know as a people from the collective experience of our people, not from abstract theory. Truth, especially religious truth, is to be found in real life experience. And so with this thought in mind, we can understand an important aspect of the Jewish New Year of Rosh HaShanah. The story of Rosh HaShanah is really a family account. It's true we speak of Rosh Hashanah as marking the creation of the world and Nevertheless, our texts focus on a family and the birth of a child. So the Torah reading is not from in the beginning, but story of a birth. See, for us, it's not philosophy. For us, it's personal. That's the point that underlies our Torah reading. So our family in question, the family of Abraham and Sarah, is not your typical happy family. The couple is missing a child. Yes, there is one child from the second wife, but as we can determine, it's not an altogether satisfactory solution. Sarah is despondent. And she is, as she jokes, now that I am withered, am I to have enjoyment with my husband so old? Nevertheless, our reading opens with the words, and the Lord took note of Sarah as he promised, and the Lord did for Sarah as he had spoken. And Sarah at 90 and Abraham at 100 have a son, Isaac. As I said, for us Jews, all religion is personal and familial. It's not abstract and theoretical. Hollywood Temple Bethel is like Abraham. As a community, we have been around officially since January 26, 1922. So like Abraham, we are hitting 100. So I want to share with you, bear with me, this print screen, Congressman Mel Levine, placed in the Congressional Record in our honor on March 20th of 1992, when we marked our 70th anniversary. Our 70th anniversary. And that would have made it somewhere around the 50th year of the establishment of the existing building. And I'm going to read you just a part of what he wrote in our honor. It's very important because his father and the family had been one of the founders of Hollywood Temple Bethel and been involved for many, many years. So he wrote, 70 years ago, on January 26, 1922, Hollywood Temple Bethel was founded to serve the needs of the fledgling Jewish community that had arisen as a result of the burgeoning cinema industry in Hollywood. The first Sunday evening services were held in a bungalow on Wilton Place, just south of Sunset Boulevard. An improvised ark, 2 Torah scrolls, and some folding chairs transformed the living room into a house of worship. A few months later, a lot was purchased at 1058 North Wilton Place, and plans for the erection of a temple were underway. In September of that year, services for the high holy days were held in their new building. Despite the fact that the interior was unfurnished, temple members began to give of themselves by donating, among other things, memorial lights, a Torah, and their time and energy. Rabbi Alstead was the first to occupy the pulpit, and the little 600-seat temple began to attract men and women from all walks of life. Although the temple struggled through the days of the national economic depression, its members held tough. At times, it was necessary to collect a few dollars at board meetings to pay for gas, electricity, and other utilities. Yet the doors were always open, and the Jews of Hollywood knew they could depend upon Temple Bethel for a minyan 3 times daily. Well, within 10 years, as you can see, let me enlarge this for you. The founders of the Warner Brothers Studios have put together a constellation of the biggest stars to celebrate New Year's at the temple. So here is that cover from that anniversary book. The building, the Temple Bethel building on Wilton Place, the traditional Father Time of New Year's tales, and a cameraman on top, filming the whole events. New Year's Eve, 1931, 1932, Warner Brothers Sunset Studio. Okay, and I'm going to show you one more. New share. Give me this. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure that, okay, I want to make sure you saw this as I talked about it. All right, there we go. Got temple, and the New Year's Eve. Okay, that's it. I want to make sure these are going correctly now. So we also had, right, a cast of thousands, stars, Warner Brothers, First National Stars, and right there in the center, Edward G. Robinson, better known as Little Caesar in his movie career fames, and who later on became president here. So that's from our tribute book of that year. Just a little bit more. When I was still here in the 90s, when I started my career here in the 90s, we had a chairman of the stature of Joe Youngerman, who successfully led the Screen Directors Guild. That's the copper colored building that is just around the corner from us, up on Sunset. There you go, Screen Directors Guild. Joe Youngerman, that very first, most significant of the executive directors of the Screen Directors Guild, very important in getting health and pension benefits for the directors, very well respected. So that was one of our people. All right, I'll come back to myself then. Why all of this? I mean, I want to add that we're still lucky. We still have a loyal member, Roger Rosen, grandson of one of the founders, Morris Rosen. And I'm constantly getting emails from people saying, oh, we saw something. My parents were married here. My grandparents were married here. We remember this, we remember that. So we go way back. So like Abraham, we have had our share of tests and turmoil. Yes, we made it through the Great Recession, through World War II, when sons of the congregation set off for the battlefront. The women of the sisterhood sewed clothing for the Red Cross. We may have been down many times, but not knocked out. We've shared collectively in this great challenge of the pandemic in this past year and a half. We're hopefully pulling through with the rest of the world in what has been a collective nightmare. Now we ask ourselves, like Sarah, is it possible to still be fruitful? Can an institution of 100 years still be creative and productive? In a sense, we have been. We're able to use the internet and technology to reach out and keep in touch with fellow Jews as far as Jamaica, Canada, and Poland, even at the peak of isolation. We held a virtual high holidays all online last year, the great bulk live, some pre-recorded, and with myself and Carmen Fraser and Jeff Buck managing the technical end. A few people scattered in the chapel, so you could at least hear an amen in the background. For several months now, since the spring, we've been able to gather and pray and celebrate together in person, and at the same time reach out to homebounds and use media to enhance our Shabbat. Even nicer, we have been able to have a real Kiddush once again, so we could schmooze and catch up on each other's stories. And keep in mind that the word companion has in it the Latin root com, with, and pan, bread. So when you eat together, you create companionship. And in that, we bring God's presence into our shared lives once again. So we are indeed holding a new child, a new baby, Isaac, in the simple fact that we're able to come together in person and at the same time reach out. We can have our Rosh HaShanah honey cake and eat it too. It's very well documented that people who stay in touch, who socialize, live longer and healthier lives. Do you seek a better life? Can I suggest, aside from your personal gurus and your fitness trainers, as good as they may be, that you add us to your health regimen? Our Torah has taught us that we can choose life. And what better way to choose life than to be together in company here in our congregation on Shabbat or online as best we can, but keeping connected. So now we also ask you, give us your support and participation in person and online so we can continue the sacred mission, which was set up by the founders of this Kehillah Kadoshah, this sacred community, to bring the message of Torah, the message of life and well-being to all who seek spiritual nourishment. May this be a sweet and good year, one of health and no malicious virus. Amen. Shana Tova from Rabbi Norbert Weinberg and the people your warm friends at Hollywood Temple, Bethel.